Okay, so hi everybody that's here that I do not have any idea who you are because all I can see is my presentation. But welcome to I Have an Idea, Let's Write About It. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Susan Norwell, educational specialist and co-founder of Rett University and committed to everything Rett. So that's who I am. And Courtney?
I am Courtney Barnum. I am Susan's business partner and the training coordinator and also a Rett U coach and prior special education teacher and pretty much have lived Rett my whole life being a sibling as well.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Yes. So our topic tonight is writing. Oh, that was a lovely sound, wasn't it? That ding was writing. And we're going to talk about why writing is so important. First of all, everything cannot be programmed into a device, nor should it be, because our ultimate goal should be that everybody we are working with, living with, loving, supporting, should be fully literate. If they're fully literate, they need to be able to write. It is another avenue of communication, but not just another avenue of communication, but a very specific avenue of communication, because one can choose any word they absolutely want. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. I have a young lady who is 18, just graduated from high school, and we are reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the Readtopia version 6 of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. She's a great reader. And at a point in the story today, there was an explosion and something came out of the Captain Nemo's submarine and exploded. And I asked her what she thought it was. Now, in my mind, it would have been very appropriate for her to say a bomb, a torpedo, a bullet, anything she could have written. Those things would have made sense. But here's what she wrote. She wrote Lead, lead, not lead, lead, BALL, a lead ball. And I said, you mean like a lead cannonball? Her eyes just lit up. Yes, that's exactly what she meant. And I said to her, the remarkable thing is that without a massive education, this young lady has heard enough, listened enough, put the pieces together enough that this story is taking place in the late 1800s, early 1900s, before there were actually submarines, before there were actually bullets, guns, torpedoes. There were cannons. That's what they used on ships. She put that all together to say a lead ball. I will assure you that as extensive as her communication system is, there is nowhere in there is the word lead. Or the word cannon, for that matter. And so there's the specificity of writing that not only let me know her idea, which is great because it came from her, not from me giving her multiple choices, but it also gave me a window into how much background knowledge she has that is hard to tap when somebody is nonverbal, has severe seizures, cannot talk, cannot walk, cannot use their hands, all the things that go with Rett. So writing for me is not just another avenue of communication. It's a really specific, eye-opening avenue of communication. Kids can tell a story, and they can tell about something they've done that might not be on their device. It is supportive of both literacy and reading. In other words, if you can write something, you can probably read it. And if you can read something, you can most likely write it also. I have found my kiddos writing to really improve once they were doing the reading instead of being read to. And it truly is their ideas, not just what we think they want to say. I was thinking bullet, torpedo, anything. I wasn't thinking lead ball, I assure you. And so writing is the best way to talk without being interrupted also. Because as we're going through that ABC flip book and as they're writing, nobody's interrupting them to talk about anything else. They're just writing away, which is super, super. So what do we need for writing? Helps if you have some kind of adapted pencil. And these are not the only adapted pencils. These are my favorite adapted pencils, or I wouldn't have made them. But we can also have, some people like to use a color-coded eye gaze frame. I just find that for a lot of my kids, that amount of visual pursuit on an eye gaze frame is hard, but I do know some kids that do a better job with that. Not my kids, but other kids that I've met. Word prediction, as soon as a kiddo can hold their own idea and has some decent decoding skills, and I would say up to less than like between 30 and 50 in making words, so they've got a good grip on at least short vowels and beginning blends, you can use word prediction and it'll work. It really is important to have a shared context. And I can't speak more highly about this, because if we don't have a shared context, some of the things they may be trying to write, or if they are not great spellers, the invented spelling they use may not make sense to us unless we have shared the experience with them or have an idea of what the pool of options are. We do need to teach the foundations of writing. Today I was just teaching a young lady who's heading into high school, and she's had to read a passage, choose from the passage what are the clues to inform the question. So there's a question. One of them was, why would hikers need to wear sturdy boots? And in what she read, it talked about the trails being steep, the rocks being slippery, there being streams in the way and roots in the way. And so she went through, and as I highlighted lines, she picked out the clues that would help inform her conclusion. And then I taught her something the nuns taught me ages ago, is that you take part of the question to answer. So we had a pattern. You take part of the question, like if it says, why do you wear hiking boots? Hikers need to wear boots to be safe. That was her conclusion. And then she went on to say, as they hike on trails that have roots and, all these other things, with different terrain and steep inclines. Those were her words that she wrote. So I was actually teaching her how to answer a question, the format of the question. We did one example together. She did two on her own. So it's not that we just throw the ABC flip book at them and go. We actually have to teach writing, do mini lessons around writing. They should have access to a robust communication system, because then they can throw a word in here or there. Or if, like today, I made a mistake and picked up a letter I thought she wanted, and she said, no, not that. Okay, great, thanks. Then I can go back and try again. And they need to have access to the full alphabet. They should not have access to just word choices we give them. That is not writing. That's just multiple choice. And so it's dependent on this really good decoding instruction. I'd be lost without making words. It really is what has made all of the kiddos I'm working with readers and writers. All right, go ahead, Courtney. I'll let you do the can you break through. I love this sign.
I love that picture. I thought that one was great. So what are some of the roadblocks to our kiddos writing? Well, of course, we've got the fine motor issues that come along with Rett syndrome and other complex needs. As most of us know, most of our kids have limited expressive language. They have their devices, but again, even that is limited because not everything is on the device. Limited expression of ideations, experiences. Because of their disability, they may have a limited range of experiences. Lack of direct teaching. Our students need to be taught, just as their peers are, how to write. Limited access to alphabet. And I'm actually going to add one for my older kids that I'm finding. I work with a couple of young men with autism, and they very much had the choices, so they don't have confidence in their writing and giving their own ideas.
And that's back up to that limited expression of ideation. I will tell you, the scariest part of writing for our kiddos, especially if they haven't been exposed to it early on, is being brave enough to put an idea out there. They're so worried about being right or wrong. They're so dependent on people offering them one or two or three choices and giving them a toolbar for writing, that they lose that, or they never gain that idea that I have an idea and I can just put it out there. Let's just put it out there and see what sticks, basically.
I've gone back to predictable charts with them to just kind of build that confidence. And we're getting ready. We're doing a unit on the national parks. And so we did there are, and what are in the different things. And they're finally starting to get to the point, two of my boys, where they are feeling confident enough to give me at least, then the one spelled Eagles, but he spelled it EGLS.
Perfect.
And I was like, but it was finally his own thoughts. And he was so excited that it was his thought. But it's taken us quite a bit of time to build that confidence in that you have your own ideas. I'm like, I don't want to know what I have to say. I want to know what you have to say. And so building that.
Yeah. And so even though for our kids, for like down and dirty quick assessments, multiple choice is great. If we don't spend an equal amount of time letting them write, teaching them to write, figuring out how they can do short answers where it's their idea, then we're really doing them a disservice, because life is not a multiple choice. It really isn't. I'm going to give credit to Judy LaRiviere, who designed this slide, and that we remember that success is always a balance between motor demands and learning and communication demands. So if we're having kids write, and I will tell you that writing is the hardest thing we ask anybody to do. It's an integration of all their skills. It's an integration of ideation, sequencing, planning. We're putting together their decoding ability, their encoding ability. It is so massive. It's why even if you walk into a classroom of kids with learning disabilities and you're doing writing, it's like they're crying and they're not wanting to do it. So for our kids, we have to understand this is really hard, which means the motor demands have to be really low, really low. Is this a movie? Is that why there's that thing there, or no?
Yes, I pulled it off of one of your writing trainings.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. All right. So, do you want to go and do this one, or you want me to do it? It's up to you.
I can go ahead and do this one.
Okay.
So when we're developing our writing, what we want to first start out with is letting your child scribble. I mean, I remember with my nieces and nephews, my sister-in-law and my sister sitting down and writing a list, and their kids grabbing a pencil and writing on paper and being scribblers, and, oh, well, what's on your list? Apple and grapes and things like that. So we want to let our kiddos scribble as well. One of the things I do with my kiddos when I'm teaching them how to scribble is we get the alphabet books, the flip books, and I let them pick a letter. And then we go and we watch the Storybots, because they love the Storybots. They're a fun little quick video, maybe a minute and a half long. But then we go into their device and we talk about all the different things that we saw that started with that letter. So it's a great chance for us to find different words in their device, but it also gives us a chance to reiterate that sound that it's making, and it's giving them a chance to scribble. So let your child scribble. Let them learn how to just have fun with the alphabet.
And we also, just a FYI, we also have a short webinar somewhere, it's free, where we talked about ways you could incorporate writing throughout the day, like signing a birthday card. You know, when my kids first started signing birthday cards for my mother, they just scribbled their name. So whatever letter they put on there would be just fine. So just lots of ways that you can incorporate it. That we're not talking about that right now, but that there is a webinar on that up there on the site somewhere.
Make sure you're modeling lots of writing, modeling modeling the writing for your child, write with your child or students so that the children can help with the composition. Starting out with, maybe a fill in the blank and letting them finish the words. Mad Libs is a great way to do, writing with their child, to get the kids started in that. And then we have them writing on their own. Susan has shared, we have a picture of scribbling from Carolyn Muscle White. Sorry, my words are not coming today.
That's okay.
On 9-6, we had the writing of Being Cupcake, horseback riding on his favorite horse, Chuck. On 11-6, we had,
I don't know what that is, but they were talking about the human body, so that might have been a foot. It could have been a foot. Yes.
Yeah.
But now look at what happens by 107. That's kind of great, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Printer, internet, email, friend, newspaper, name, Pete, an email to his favorite friend, Pete. Pete is a reporter at a newspaper. And then on 3-7, let's not fight mom, beautiful, beautiful M. No explanation needed. We're talking about our moms.
That's right. Exactly.
You can see where the scribbling, you can see the progression of it throughout the year. And again, remember, with our kiddos, it's going to take a bit, but they do start really getting it, and especially if we make it a lot of fun.
Yes.
So, start out and let them scribble.
All right, so I can talk to this. I had David Copenhaver, who in my mind is, There's God, who I adore, and then under that is David Copenhaver. And David Copenhaver is brilliant, and it just writes all this great research and really knows about writing and literacy and everything. And he's been kind enough to mentor me. So whenever I have a question, so he came to hear me speak once, and I was about peed my pants because when he walked in, I was so nervous. The first time he came to hear me, I didn't know he was there because it was dark. And all of a sudden, there's a question from the back of the room, like, "Hey, Norwell, how did you do that?" And I look up and I go, "Oh my gosh, David Copenhaver is asking me a question." So anyways, I've always been in awe of him. And I always say if he asked me to put black shoe polish on my head every day at 2 o'clock, I would, because I trust him that much. But he sat down with me after the presentation I gave and said, "Okay, so what are you doing with your girls with writing?" And I said, "Hey, listen, I am really a champ when it comes to word banks, and I'm using a lot of core and content because, my girls are just, they're just would be exhausted if I gave them the full alphabet." And he would not let up, and he would not let up, and he would not let up. And he said, "Unless they have the full alphabet, you are not teaching them to write." And I was like, "Okay, you say so, I'm going to do it." And I will tell you, it is probably, you put together the article I wrote, right? For them to be able to download? Did I send that to you?
You did not, but we can add it to the thing.
Excellent. Okay. So I'll send you it's a 2-part article on writing where I give him a ton of credit. And I have to say that if there's one thing that I am glad I listened about, it would be writing. And I'll tell you why. Besides the lead ball story I just told you, I just met a 39-year-old who, up until the point she just got her Toby, like this year, had no way to communicate. Okay, 39. We weren't doing much with 39-year-olds back in the day. And that was before my aha moment. And I'm really excited about the fact that this mom spends a great deal of time, has spent a great deal of time instructing and talking to her and treating her just like any other 39-year-old. They watch Khan Academy, they watch certain movies, and they talk about what they're learning. But it's always been pretty one-sided until she got a way to communicate. Well, last week, or a week and a half ago, I read her the story of A Bad Case of Stripes. And I love this story because it's about a girl who refuses to be herself. She won't eat lima beans because she thinks people will make fun of her, and she doesn't want to be made fun of. She wants to be just like everybody else, which is a really awful burden to bear when you're trying to be like everybody else. I like this story because I think it has a great message. But in the process of this story, she wakes up with a bad case of stripes. She's all striped. And when the kids say checkers at school, she turns into a checkerboard. And when the doctors give her some pills, she turns into a pill. And when the environmentalist says you need to be part of your room, she literally becomes part of her room. Her bed is her mouth, and her 2 picture frames are her eyes. It's funny, but not funny. It's like one of those things. And so I say to this woman, "So what do you think?" She's like enthralled with the story. And I say to her, "So what do you think is going to fix this? Nothing they're doing. It's just getting worse and worse and worse." And I pull out the ABC flip book. And she proceeds to spell Lima. And I said, "Are you trying to spell lima beans?" Again, this huge smile on her face. What else could she be spelling, right? And I thought to myself, lady, you have so much in there we don't even know about. You have been watching, you have been listening, you have been taking so much in, but now for the first time in your life, you have the ability to get it out. And it's all because of writing. And so when we look at word banks, it's not that I never use word banks. When I do writing with a whole group of kids in a classroom, I did this really cool activity with different makeup and different fingernail polish and different, when these kids were all writing with word banks because it went faster. If you wait for somebody to spell, number 1 kid, number 2, 3, 4, and 5 kid are falling asleep already. Same with core and content. If you're doing some kind of predictable chart writing, you could have people throwing in ideas from their device. That's just fine. But if they are not spending the majority of their time engaged in actual writing with the full alphabet, they're never going to learn to be writers. Just like if they never spend time decoding, they're never going to learn to be readers or writers. And if they don't spend time reading, they're not going to learn to read. So nobody learns to ride a bike by watching other people ride it. It's a participation sport. This is definitely a participation sport. So here are, you want to talk about context, or is that later on? Is there another slide that comes with context?
There is, and it's later on. So
Okie dokie. All right. Tips to assist with writing. Many opportunities. Story reading, story retells, chat about a book. Don't give up. It's hard. Even if, like one of my kids, we were writing about what are the details to this butterfly book, and they put B, and one of the butterflies was big. And I went, oh my goodness, one of our butterflies was big. That is the first letter in big. Now, it may not have been they meant to write big, and I don't need to always ask them if that's what they meant, but I can make a connection between what they wrote and the story. They can construct a narrative and retell their own experiences by giving you little words here and there. That phonemic awareness and decoding so essential. And you know why I know it's essential? I'm even teaching kids who speak French to write. It's crazy. I don't speak French. I know how to model on a device that's in French, but I am rewriting these books in French, and as we're going through the different words, I'm helping with the decoding. Actually, the mom is helping more with the decoding than me because my pronunciation really sucks. But she's writing back to us in French. And it's because the reading is helping her as well as the decoding is helping her. It's not just the decoding and it's not just the reading. They say these 4 blocks go together for a reason because they all support each other. We need to model writing with their pencil, use the ABC flipbook. I have the moms, when I'm working with or whoever happens to be helping them, write something using their ABC flipbook also. And understand that learning the motor plan of how to use the flipbook, that's why Courtney's idea of doing those storybots and then tie it to the words they've learned is so important, because they have to first learn the plan. How do I use this pencil? Before they can use the pencil to do something. 12-month to 18-month-olds pick up a pencil and scribble around before they ever think about letters. They're just learning the mechanics of the pencil. And that's what these kids have to do too, and adults. Shared context is really helpful because then we know what each other's trying to say, or at least within the ballpark of what they're trying to say. And the goal is always to move from emergent scribbling single letters to more conventional writing. That has to be our goal. We have to have a systematic way to get there. We have to do systematic instruction across reading, decoding, and writing so that we get there. Oh, I love this. Go ahead.
So this is actually one of my kiddos, and this is just the importance of that shared context in beginning writing. I went and got to work with a wonderful young man out in Texas who had spinal muscular atrophy. And so literally the only thing he could move was his eyes. And we were reading and he was doing fabulous. We read a great book about the aquarium from reading A to Z. And I said, okay, we're going to write now. I'd like to see what you want to write about. And I said, I wonder if you'd like to write about the aquarium. No. And I'm like, okay. And so I can't remember because it's been a couple of years, but I asked him, well, do you want to write? Oh, they were getting ready to go on vacation. I said, well, do you want to write about your Red River trip? Figured, I know he's going to Red River. Don't quite know a ton about Red River, but I can figure it out. I'll have some kind of shared context. And then he wrote this, I want IFEAGLN. And I had no idea what he wanted. And I'm going, okay. Thank goodness his teacher was there and knew a little bit more about him. And she went, I wonder if you're talking about your best friend, Lane. And his eyes immediately came over, this big smile. Yes, and that's what it was. And if you look and you start getting it, you get the F for friend, and then Lane. And so he was so excited about being able to, but again, we didn't have that shared context. And if his teacher wouldn't have been there, I didn't know his best friend's name was Lane. I would not have been able to figure it out. It would have been a very frustrating situation. I felt like an idiot. I'm not going to lie. It was one of my first big trips for Rett. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't figure out what this kid is trying to tell me. But his teacher was there and had that shared context. So really always making sure you have some kind of a shared context when you're beginning writing, so that, again, you don't feel like you're an idiot, and they feel heard and that their ideas are being put across.
And you know what? The other thing about that is if there's any teachers out there, if somebody writes something like that, say, you know what? I love your writing. I'm going to send this home because I bet mom and dad are going to love it too. And hopefully mom and dad will write a note back and explain what the meaning is, which would be really great.
Right.
I want friend Lane. How cool is that? That is so cool. I love that. All right, this is Blakely, and this is her first writing experience. And she's actually drawn a picture on the iPad by using partner-assisted scan. What picture should we? She's drawn a Christmas picture. So this is the...
Go. Do we want A, B, C, or D? No, don't want any of those. Okay. Do we want E, F, G, or H? No. Okay. Right. Thank you, Miss Brave Girl. You're such a brave girl. Do you want I, J, K, L, M, N? No, I don't, Susan. Okay. Do you want O, P, Q, R, S, T? Please use any of those letters. Oh, yes. Oh my goodness, you are so smart. So I'm wondering, do we need an OPQ? I'm going to do them in a group because it'll just be so much faster. No. Do we need R?
This is where a cameraman would say, get your head out of the way.
I'm thinking, here's what I'm thinking. Should the R go by the tree or should the R go by Rudolph? What do you think? Should I put it by the tree? I see you hit the no. Can you use your eyes too to help me? Do you think we should put that R by the tree? Tree? No. Should we put the R by Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer? Yes or no? Yes. All right, I'm putting that R right by you.
So now here's a pre-K kiddo, literally 4, pre-kindergarten. And in her kindergarten class, they do letter of the day. And she has learned letter of the day. And she did this picture. And I got the idea that maybe what we could do is just label the picture since she's giving me letters. And it was interesting. I saw her in the beginning of the school year, probably around November, right before Christmas. That's why we did this. And she did S for Santa Claus. She did R for reindeer. And when we came back later in the year, I said, maybe we want to add some letters to this. And for Santa Claus, she added SC. For reindeer, RD. So she was starting to hear the syllables and starting to figure out that each of those syllables needed to have a letter.
Yeah.
Right? Just a great, great thing. Okay, so now this is Mindy. Mindy is going to celebrate her 50th birthday in a couple of months, I think. Again, she started with her Toby just 2 years ago when we got her one. But she read this book, and you can see now we're doing a combination of things. I'm just trying to kind of get her used to ABCs, the yes and no, and just to kind of get her thinking.
Yes. Well, we started writing something and then we never got finished. So, and this is why I have something called OneNote on my phone, because I take pictures of everything, or I wouldn't have remembered either. And see, this is what we were writing. I wrote, she was brave. And when I was talking about she, I was talking...
Short, tall, loud, silly, silly, not wild, scary, sad, upset, surprised. Please, please. I'm sorry, bored, funny, famous, funny, caring, I think you good.
Ha! Oh. I know, you have got a lot to say, my friend.
Doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes.
I'm thinking, that makes perfect sense if you put it all together. Yeah. And on the farm, there was this goose. Remember in the story? When I say she was brave,
Goose.
I was really talking about the goose. The goose being brave.
Goose.
So, you wrote, you going was Leica, and you decided you did not want the going. You got rid of that. But this is what you have. You was like a what?
Do you remember the story? It's a long time ago.
What was our story? And you were going to tell me something about it. And so what we have to decide is if these are the words that you want to keep. So I'm thinking that the you were telling me. Is the you me? Yes, okay. You was like what was I like? What was I like? Do you have an idea about what I was like? Yes, all right. Let's see what I was like. Let's see. Do you think you need A, B, C, D?
You can say yes to all of them, Mindy.
Give me time, Mom.
Oh, yeah. And if there's more than one goose, it's called
Geese.
they're called geese. She went into magic words. Got the plural. Yeah, because there were babies, remember? There were baby geese. Oh my gosh.
Baby.
And the baby geese, I thought were hysterical. They were so funny.
Funny.
They were so funny. So, you was like A, B, C, D.
Can you hear us? Hello?
Yes. All right. Do you want A? I know you loved that book.
Famous.
Famous. I was like somebody famous? Are you trying to tell me I was like somebody famous? Oh, I'm wondering if you wanted the A, kind of like an actor. Maybe like an actor telling the story, or an actress. Oh, yeah, you think that's a good idea? I like to read like a,
Famous.
like an.
So here's where, the whole idea
Yes.
of being able to express an idea and use her talker and kind of add to things helped me kind of figure out what she was trying to say. She has a really strong yes. We're leaning right into that yes, like she wants to eat it practically. And I'll tell you that she has come a long way. I felt really sad for her because of COVID. I couldn't see her for a year because she was in a group home and the group home would not allow me in. She's in a CILA, community independent living arrangement. And they finally said, you can come to the backyard. I said, well, if I come to the backyard and it's raining, I'm not going to be able to see her. And if it's too sunny, I won't be able to see the Toby. So finally they said, once I was vaccinated, then I could come and see her. So now I've been seeing her again. And she has come so far in her communication, and now we just have to get back to writing. But those are just some ideas of kind of what it can look like. It doesn't look perfect. It doesn't look great when you first start it. In fact, sometimes when you first start it, you're going to say to yourself, why am I doing this? What is this about? But like I was telling Courtney before we all started today, that when Amanda spelled lead ball today, it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, this is exactly why I do what I do. And it is all worth it. All the hard work and the little bit of pushing and helping them understand that, yes, they might feel anxious when they're generating their own idea, and they might be feeling anxious if they don't know exactly how to spell it. I have a little girl I work with who's such a perfectionist that she wants to spell the words exactly. And I'm like, you can't spell them exactly because you haven't been taught how to spell them exactly. As long as I can understand you, that's what's important. So here are some places you can go for some added information. These are some of our courses on digital chalk. Some of them are free.
The top 3 are our free lessons that we did during COVID.
Perfect.
One is the Mad Libs free lesson. The second one is the time words. The third one is writing with word prediction. And then the bottom 4 are actually courses that we have available on Rett University on writing and building a social communication. And one of the things, just going back to what Susan said, the writing is a vital part of communication. It is hard. I have seen that myself. I have only been doing Rett U for a couple years, but even with my students before then, and it's hard, and you question on a daily basis because it is hard. You're going, oh my gosh, am I doing it the right way? And our kids are so anxious about that. And one of the things I always do when I'm starting writing with one of my kids is to make sure I let them know that this is new and this is hard and it's going to be challenging, but we're going to get through it together. And really, like Susan said, reiterating that we don't need perfection, and we're just, if they can give me one letter, we'll figure it out together. And it really takes some of that pressure off of them, because I think our girls and boys put a lot of pressure on themselves to be perfect because they're always having to prove themselves. So really just kind of, when you start writing with your kiddo with the scribbling, make it fun, make it silly, make it a game, and let them know that it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. So
yeah, and also look for the hidden jewels in there, because sometimes they're going to be giving you things that you're not really looking for, but might be in there. That's what I would say, because I find writing to be the biggest window into what they're thinking. And that's what I dearly want. And I think that's what every parent wants, is they just want to know what their kids are thinking. And I think that's why writing to me is so essential. So anyways, Courtney, is this the last slide?
Just the last, we have one more that just says our contact information. If you
Okay.
guys have any questions.
There we go.
Or you can either email Susan at susannorwell@rett-u.org or myself, Courtney, at gp2c.org. As always, if there's anything that you would like to see in our web chat, or you have any questions, go ahead and email us. We are always, we are here. We do our web chats once a month, and we want to make sure we're doing them for subjects that are of interest and of help to our families and our clients. So please make sure to email us if there's something that you're going, oh, I could really use some extra help on that. If you guys do need support, again, please just email me and we can get you set up and to do any help. And